But before we introduce them, let me go ahead and pull up our slides and have Lauren introduce some of the housekeeping stuff. So just give me 1 second. Share screen. Oops. And I'll put this in presentation. Okay. All right, Lauren, take it away.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here with us today. We're super excited for our topic and our wonderful guests. So just a couple of housekeeping things. Please, when you tune in, share where you're tuning in from, your state or country. It's so awesome to see where everybody is. Share in the comments your brand of nerdiness. This is Narcolepsy Nerd Alert, so nerds welcome. Please like, comment, and share this video. The more we have comments and likes and hearts and shares, the more Facebook will share it with everybody. And please remember that this video will be recorded and your comments will stay with it. So please only share things that you are comfortable with being shared publicly. This is an educational nerd alert. And if anything that we talk about sparks questions for you about your own condition or treatment, we ask that you please bring those to your sleep specialist or neurologist. And after the video, we will be building a downloadable printable toolkit that brings together everybody's insights and comments, and we will have that published just as soon as we can.
Thank you, Lauren. And thanks everybody for joining. Let's see. Okay, yes, all right, so getting to our special guests. I'm so excited to have Dr. Ortiz and Mary Murray joining us today. How about Dr. Ortiz, do you wanna go ahead and go first and share where you're joining us from, your brand of nerdiness, and if you don't know what that means, like I am a binder nerd. I have lots of binders and I like social science. That's like my nerdiness. Lauren, I'll speak for you. Lauren is a spreadsheet nerd. She loves spreadsheets. And then just share a little bit about your background.
So hi, my name is Louis Ortiz. I'm a pediatric sleep medicine specialist. I'm coming to you from Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital in St. Petersburg, Florida. I have type 1 narcolepsy. So it's really like narcolepsy and idiopathic hypersomnia are really important to me. So in terms of nerdiness, I am a nerd, a sleep geek and sleep nerd. I love things sleep. But I'm also a video game nut as well. I love video games. I play a lot of them. Not that many people know that about me, but yeah, so I'm a video game and sleep nerd, and they do go hand in hand. You just gotta know how to limit yourself for one thing.
Yes, that is probably good advice. And also, do you think, are there any video games about sleep yet? And should we get one?
There are a lot of video games that kind of deal with dreams and what happens when you sleep. I can't recall if there's anyone with video game that has some protagonist with narcolepsy or idiopathic hypersomnia. Nothing that jumps off the top of my head, but going to sleep and what you do when you sleep is a common topic. But usually it's what happens when you dream, not rather than the problems of sleeping and dreaming too much.
That's so cool. All right, Mary, say hello.
All right, hello everybody. My name is Mary Murray, and I am a teacher in Los Angeles, California. I have idiopathic hypersomnia, and I guess my brand of nerdiness is books. Maybe not necessarily just about sleeping, but I love to read. It is something that I am fanatical about. And so far on summer vacation, which I'm on right now, I've read 4 books already. So I'm kind of blowing through those a little bit. But yeah, I'm a teacher. I teach middle school science. I'm a mother. I have 2 children, and an avid reader, I guess, would be how I would describe myself.
And how did you find your IH diagnosis?
Let me think about that one. Well, this wonderful neighbor I had once upon a time named Julie, our lovely Julie here, actually helped me get diagnosed with IH. We used to live in the same building. We were neighbors for a very long time, and we connected through that, but also beyond that as well. But she was pivotal in my diagnosis journey for sure.
Yeah, and it was still challenging. Even having a strong advocate as a neighbor, it was still challenging to overcome misunderstandings. So, but yeah, we're so excited to have you guys with us today. And let's go ahead and get our discussion questions up there. This is kind of the agenda. We're going to start with some discussion questions. We have some great slides from Dr. Ortiz as well. And then we're going to kind of break down the discussion, just so you know, to talk about before napping, during napping, and after napping. I'm so excited about this because I think they actually all deserve time and attention for today's discussion. So for questions for the audience to start commenting in, we have, of course, this question: is napping an unwelcome symptom of narcolepsy or a helpful treatment? I think this is kind of an interesting thing because often when I started my journey, I thought that if I started taking treatments, the goal was to stop napping. It took me a while to realize that maybe that wasn't the goal. The goal was, actually to try to incorporate napping into my life and also have good cognition other times of the day. So anyway, tell us what you think about that. And then for you guys, how do you make space mentally and logistically for naps in your life? So I constantly feel like we can learn from each other in how we think about, naps and how we physically find places to nap and all that good stuff. Oops, I went backwards. So we just have a quote here from Dr. Mercadio Marleni, who was a part of a wonderful video that Dr. Ortiz was also a part of, specifically talking about doctors with narcolepsy. And she had this beautiful quote, don't fight against sleep because sleep is always going to win. And I just love that. And I hear that in my own head many days. So just thought to share that. But I think with that, before we go forward into this part, let's have Dr. Ortiz, because we have such an amazing expert here with us. He prepared a few slides on sort of like more of the medical, background about napping, and we're really excited to hear what he has.
Thanks, Julie. So like I said before, I'm a sleep medicine doctor. I also have narcolepsy. And so, kind of what I learned during my training really hits home. And I feel that, it's really important to share kind of what the process is as to why we want you to know, why your sleep doctor may want you to take a nap. And so this comes from like decades of research onto what sleep is, what its purpose is, and how it works in our brain. So sleep is not one process. Sleep is actually two separate processes. One, you have one part of your brain that works towards making you sleep, and another part of your brain that works towards keeping you awake. They are almost like diametrically opposed. And believe it or not, a lot of systems in your body work that way. It's not a gas. You push hard on the gas, you go faster. It's more like you have one system. It's like a balance thing. And so when one end is stronger than the other, you get one action, and then when the other end is stronger on the other end, you get the opposite action. And so with sleep and wake, you have a process called process S, which is your sleep drive. And that gets stronger and stronger the longer you go without sleep. And then you have process C, which is your circadian rhythm, which is also your wake drive. And unlike your sleep, this one like waxes and wanes through the day. So as you wake up, it supposedly starts to get stronger, and then as the day ends, it gets weaker and weaker. And your greatest urge to sleep is when the process S overcomes your process C. Now, this is what a typical person without narcolepsy, this is how it would look like. But with narcolepsy, it's not that the process S gets stronger. It's more that the process C just drops out. It loses its intensity at inopportune times. And so instead of having the greatest urge to sleep occur at nighttime like normal, you'll have the greatest urge to sleep occur several times throughout the day because your process C is just dropping, and then it comes back on. And so the whole idea of taking a nap is to blunt the effect of process S, because as you can see at this, you can't see my mouse. Let's see, my laser pointer. Okay, so as you can see here, when you go to sleep, that process, that drive just drops. And so by taking a nap, you drop that process S, and it makes the balance a little bit better for making sleep. And so in typical people without narcolepsy, napping has shown to improve alertness by diminishing that sleep drive. Studies on the effectiveness of nap in people without narcolepsy have shown that a short 15 to 20-minute nap can improve driving performance. The downside is if you take a longer nap, you can have grogginess and not feeling good. And this is called sleep inertia. And this typically occurs when you start to enter a deeper sleep. And when you're awoken from a deep sleep, you just don't feel good. And so to avoid that, you keep your naps short. If you start going beyond 20 minutes into the 30 or 40-minute mark, you start entering that deep sleep. When it comes to narcolepsy and napping, scheduled napping has been considered a standard care, a standard treatment for treatment of narcolepsy, regardless if you're on medications or not. For the reasons I mentioned above, it just blunts the effects of the sleep drive and making you sleepy and improving your alertness. However, it is rather underutilized because of many social constraints, psychological constraints, it's unfortunate because it can work. And there have been a lot of studies that show that napping helps. Taking a 15 or 30, several studies have shown taking as short as a 15 or 30-minute nap has shown to have the ability to stay awake at 4 p.m. They'd have people with narcolepsy take a nap, and they do like a mini MSLT. They ask them, they try to see how long it takes them to fall asleep. And there's definitely, it takes people with narcolepsy longer to fall asleep if they had previously taken a nap. Another study has shown that taking 3 regularly scheduled 15-minute naps each day for about a month, not only does it decrease unintentional napping, but it improves general daytime alertness. And ideally, a lot of these researchers continue saying that, you should not have any long naps to prevent this deep sleep, to prevent the sleep inertia. You don't want to feel bad when you wake up. However, oftentimes that still happens. On the flip side, another study has shown that they actually their results suggested taking actually a very long nap, a 1 to 2 hour nap, or about maybe like 20% of your actual night, how long you normally sleep at night, can be more effective. And these authors, they had people take this 1 to 2 hour nap about 12 hours from their middle of their nighttime sleep. So let's say you go to sleep at sometime at 10 p.m. and you wake up at 6 in the morning. So that middle of the night time is 2 a.m. 12 hours from that is 2 p.m. So they had, so if 2 a.m. was the middle of the night of your sleep, these researchers had the person take a nap at 2 p.m. And by doing that, not only did it help with the reaction time of these people with narcolepsy, that they're able to process things faster, but they also found there was less unintentional napping. They also found that since you're going, not only you're getting that deep sleep, but you're sleeping so long, you're already out of the deep sleep by the time you're woken up, you don't have that sleep inertia, you feel better. The authors still kind of recommended also taking a smaller nap in a day. However, I found that, this is kind of opposite of what a lot of people what a lot of people without narcolepsy are told, that to take that power nap. And so I found it's really interesting. And so if you think that the short naps aren't working for you because you just feel so bad, maybe you should just take one big long nap in the afternoon. Additional factors to consider, one study that looked at people without narcolepsy, if they drank 1 or 2 cups of coffee and then take a nap, they were more alert. And this was in drowsy drivers, but I feel like it can still be applied here. So the caffeine in coffee boosts your wake promoting drive, and then that nap decreases your sleep promoting drive. And so that's how you improve the alertness. And so to apply this into narcolepsy, so let's say you take an afternoon stimulant dose, try to schedule that so that you take your stimulant dose right before you take a nap, or at the same time that you're taking a nap, so that when you wake up, you have the full effects of that stimulant. At the same time, you're minimizing your sleep drive. Of course, any medication changes should always be talked with your own sleep physician. So I can't really recommend it specifically for you, but it's something to talk with your sleep doctor about. So I hope this was helpful in trying to explain why naps are important, why napping can help, and maybe this can lead up to further discussion with your own sleep physician.
Thank you, Dr. Ortiz. That is exactly the kind of nerdiness we were looking for in this broadcast. I love it, love it, love it. You know, I just really appreciate you kind of going through that with us and bringing it, you know, different research together for us. That was really, really cool. And I feel like that initial graph is so neat. You know, I'm thinking, Mary, is this taught in science classes? It should be.
We definitely should be talking about it more in science class. I talk about it in health class a lot, especially with students I see students who get tired during class. And I always try to engage them in conversation, especially if they start to kind of doze off because they expect to be in trouble almost. I'm like, you're not in trouble. Let me tell you about some stuff. So yeah, maybe I should steal a copy of that from you to present in my health classes.
Oh yeah, no problem.
That is so cool.
Well, you know what? That's interesting that you say that the kids feel like they're in trouble when when parents bring their kids to me because they're excessively sleepy, regardless if it's like narcolepsy, IH, or sleep apnea. You know, a lot of times if they're falling asleep, the kids do feel like they're in trouble, and they're seeing me, like especially younger kids, they feel like they're in trouble because of that. And I think that's part of the reason why there is a stigma against napping. People are told at a young age that falling asleep is not a good thing, especially in public or in certain situations. And I feel that that's kind of hurting everyone, especially when even people without narcolepsy could benefit from naps. There are research that shows that taking a power nap can help your function in the afternoon if you don't have narcolepsy. And as I already said, it definitely helps people with narcolepsy in terms of function and daytime symptoms. So, you know, I think the problem kind of starts even before people get diagnosed with narcolepsy or even have narcolepsy.
Mm-hmm. We find that for our Rising Voices of Narcolepsy advocates, a few of them had in their story about how they went to truancy court, you know, and because of missing school, because of sleeping. And it really struck me after you heard a few times and you think, so you made it in front of a judge before you ever made it in front of a doctor for your sleepiness. And like, that just breaks my heart that's kind of how Louise is getting in trouble for sleeping before anyone considers medical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like, teachers are really important in trying to recognize these issues. I'm starting to get more like the parents are telling me, like, you know, the teachers are telling me that they're concerned about what's going on. And, is your child getting enough sleep? They don't think that I'm hearing more that like the teachers are more concerned about the health of the child rather than their child is being bad or misbehaving. And so it's good that there might be a change, but I think education is for teachers because they see the kid every day. Sometimes they see the kids more often than the parents. And so I think that's important. I'm glad that Mary's a teacher and she's helping out that way too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Thank you. That's actually really good to hear that you're hearing that happening more often, because I try to make sure that when I see kids who are sleepy or napping in class, I always check in with them. I don't know. It's just interesting that their default is, oh, I'm in trouble. I was sleeping in class. I'm so sorry. It won't happen again. I'm like, but are you tired? Because if you're tired, that could be a slew of things. I'm not mad at you. And then usually I'll kind of joke with them too. I'm like, did you not see my like plaques up on the wall? Because I have my Rising Voices of Narcolepsy card up on my bulletin board at school, or some of the Project Sleep postcards, sleepiness isn't laziness, that kind of stuff. And they're like, oh, I guess I never really thought about it, miss. I'm like, yeah, there you go.
Yay, great advocates. Lauren, I wanted to check in with you, Lauren, to see if people had some comments back, if you want to share a little bit before we continue with our discussion.
Yeah, so it's exciting to see everybody tune in. We've got folks from all over the United States, coast to coast. And a couple of folks, actually, Julie and Lauren, have said that napping is both an unwelcome symptom and helpful treatment. Lauren adds that she likes to say that she likes to choose the naps rather than naps choosing her, which I've heard echoed quite a lot in the community. So folks are really appreciating Dr. Ortiz's explanation. Melissa says that her 10 to 15 minute naps are a huge help. Like it feels like her brain just needs to give in sometimes, and like no amount of meds or energy drinks will help. And then 15 minutes later, she wakes up and feels much better. And it looks like Lauren also appreciates you, like your explanation confirmed her strategy of taking her meds right before she takes a nap and then feels much better later. And Melissa, talking about kids getting in trouble, says that taking naps was the only thing she ever got in trouble for with her parents as a kid. So yeah, but thanks for all the comments, everybody. Keep them coming. We love to hear what you think.
Yes. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and put the next group of slides up here about, let's go into our discussion about before napping. Okay. So we had one of our speakers, Anne Claude from Montreal. She had this beautiful description about how when she started to feel tired, I think her natural inclination, and how she said it was, her inclination was to turn up and instead of turn down, kind of like you think like turning up your energy. And she said that her husband helped her when she was sleepy to move towards turning down her energy. But I wondered, I guess with that, sometimes I can't tell whether I'm just having a small energy dip or a big energy dip. And I didn't know if that resonated with other people and our special guest today, especially if I'm about to go do something. So there was one day I was about to leave to walk. This is before the pandemic when you could do things. So I was going to walk to Starbucks and do some work there. And right before I left, I thought, is this a little dip or a big dip? And, because I would be away for a few hours and not want to sleep at Starbucks. I'd just rather sleep at home. And so I don't know if anyone else has like tips for how they figure out whether they should try to push through or turn down. And should we fight sleep or welcome it? So do you guys have any thoughts about that?
I'm still trying to figure that out myself. I often tell myself, if I was a smart man, I'd take a nap right now, and then I still try to truck along, and I end up wasting more time if I try to fight it, and my work is not as good. It takes longer for me to do it. Whereas if I took a 15-20 minute nap or even an hour nap, I'd wake up feeling better, and I can get so much more done. And it's just that brain fog really limits your ability to make a good call sometimes. And sometimes you're lucky and it kind of clears up after 10 or 15 minutes, and other times, you're still stuck in that fog, and you have a bad day if you don't take the nap.
I completely agree with that sentiment. I try to tell myself when I am turning down, I guess, that it's an investment in my future self for that day. Like I'm laying down, I'm closing my eyes so that I can do more later, because it's really hard sometimes for me to slow down. Because I have so much that I want to do. I have work to do. I have things I'd like to do. I want to, read that next book and play with the kids and cram everything in all the time. And I'm really working on trying to be okay with stopping and taking the nap before it totally takes me over. And then it turns from a 15-minute nap to a 2-hour, I still can't get out of bed because I'm so beat sort of situation.
Yeah. I don't know if it's like, I don't know if it is something. The only thing I can sometimes sense is I get achy in my shoulders. And I've learned that as an early sign that if I start going like this to myself and like, moving my head, that is maybe like a sleepiness, I need to like recognize that that's what's happening. I just have FOMO on here. I know it's like an old term probably by now. It's probably already like way gone. But when I found the word FOMO, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much. I think I just wanted to kind of like at least say that the hard part about napping is that it takes time. Like it does take time, even if it is just 20 minutes. When you look at kind of like the impact of a condition, taking 20 to 40 minutes or an hour out of a day when you have 12 hours is still kind of, a lot. So I understand that. And I guess there's that other thing. There's like now JOMO, joy of missing out. So I'm trying to think like JOMO.
No, that's, I don't even know what to think about that.
So I always feel like, I was just thinking about this. It's like, I feel like, I think people with chronic diseases, they have an idealized life of what would things be like if they didn't have that disease. And I think that that perception is always going to be a lot better than what it would have been. And so I just think about a study that was, told to me when I was in medical school about people who have had concussions and how they rate their ability to think, process things, headaches, like their quality of lives. They compared it like how their lives were before and after the concussion. And then they compared it like that to people who've never had concussions. And basically, the people with concussions, quality of life, or like some of the metrics, like how well they process things, how many bad days they've had, is pretty similar to people who've never had concussions. And really what people imagined their lives were before that concussion was too perfect, too idealized, not consistent with real life. And I feel that the same thing is true with narcolepsy and idiopathic hypersomnia. You want to believe that if you didn't have narcolepsy, you'd be able to get all this stuff done. And that may not be true. And maybe you could get some more stuff, but it's not so much. And then we end up pushing ourselves to do more. And that includes missing out, not taking the naps, and pushing ourselves to do more than we really should. And then we end up feeling worse the next day or the day after. I feel like, fear of missing out is a big thing, because we really want to achieve as much as possible, even though that goal may be a little bit even like out of our reach, even if we didn't have narcolepsy.
I love that. Go ahead, Mary.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think that plays into why I've started telling myself that like it's an investment in my future self, because I will try to push through sometimes, especially if there's something that I really want to do or somewhere I really want to go. But then I know that even the next day or the day after, they're just going to be ruined. Like I will ruin it for myself and not be able to do, X, Y, Z. And I'm really working hard on accepting the fact that, accepting the fact that I do need to take these naps. And doing that will allow me to not have FOMO later, for sure, because I definitely suffer from that a lot.
I read a book called The Willpower Instinct, and it reminds me a lot of what Dr. Ortiz was saying about, we also apparently have an idealized version of our future self, that we think that our self tomorrow is going to be capable of doing so much more than our self today. So like the goals we even set out for ourselves as humans are pretty, just like as if tomorrow we would actually have 40 hours in a day, and how much we can actually get done. So it's kind of interesting you said about like having an idealized version of your past self. And maybe we also have an idealized version of like yourself tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Scheduled versus unscheduled. So I don't schedule my naps. I probably should, but I just tend to feel that sleepiness kind of comes when it comes. And I do find it's early evening for the most part. And of course it'd be good if I'm on a really routine schedule, that would probably help me to kind of nail down a time. But I was curious if you guys schedule your naps, and for audience members, if they schedule naps.
I don't schedule my naps, as you probably famously know, Julie, because I refer to my napping as nap roulette. It's like, is it going to be 20 minutes? Is it going to be 2 hours? I don't know. I just take it when it comes. If I'm in a situation where I can take a nap, like if I'm teaching and I'm feeling really sleepy, then I have to kind of push through that until I don't have students in my classroom anymore. But when I'm at home, generally I don't schedule my nap. I know, like I look at my day and I think to myself, okay, when is there a time that I will be able to nap? When will it be when I can like miss out on the least amount of things or have the least amount of responsibility? And I'm in a really good situation right now with it being summer vacation, where I can kind of just have the freedom to nap whenever, which is really nice. But when we went back to school in April, after COVID shut down, I was teaching online for this whole time, which was lovely because I had some longer breaks between classes. I could nap during the day. It was beautiful. That was about the best part of it, because the rest of it wasn't so great. But we were going back into school, and I was going to have students in my classroom all day long. And I was not going to get a break from them. I was going to have somebody come and break me to like go to the bathroom, for example. And I was really worried about napping. So at that point, then I did start scheduling myself naps to get through the end of the school year. during lunchtime, just, you know, so I knew that I had that time. That was the only time I didn't have kids in my room. And I really looked forward to it. But now that it's back to summertime again, I'm just kind of napping when I need to. So I guess I can see, all that to say, I can see the positives of both sides. I think that, you know, what works for people. But for me, like, it's like, oh, I'm tired, I'm gonna take a nap now.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't take scheduled naps either. I wish I could, because I feel that it would be more beneficial than waiting until I feel tired. It's just, yeah, it's just things are busy, and you know, there's no, you have to wait for a lull in things, and or I gotta wait until like my work is being compromised by it, and I can't say no. And so I feel that if I was able to schedule it, things would be better. If, or you know, maybe I always tell, I think, you know, after, you know, reviewing all the stuff for napping, I feel like, you know, I think I should make a bigger effort in scheduling my naps, because I mean, the research shows that scheduled naps seem to be better. So that's kind of my new goal in terms of my self-care, to schedule the naps. Interestingly enough, what, Julie?
Have they tested whether scheduled versus unscheduled though?
I think, oh, I can't recall which, if this one, if they did it unscheduled or scheduled. I know they looked at 15 versus 30 minutes, and they didn't see that much of a difference. I need to look at that in terms of scheduled versus unscheduled. But at the same time, you know, one study recently looked at people during the pandemic, and they found that people with narcolepsy they were less sleepy, because at the same time they were taking more naps. So, you know, that makes sense. You know, you take more naps, you feel less sleepy, but the fact that, you know, you're taking more naps, it just makes sense. And sometimes we just forget about it too.
Yeah, plus I know for me, during the pandemic, I started sleeping later. I just let myself sleep longer at night, which I think helped. Then I can have one nap during the day. Whereas if I have to get up really early, then I end up, my sleepiness comes earlier in the day, you know, and then it's sometimes a 2-nap situation. Okay, let's move on because there's just so much. Oh, okay. So here's kind of the quote I think that someone else had already quoted for us. Take the nap before the nap takes you. Or I think Lauren had said something about choosing the nap before the nap chooses you, which I like the choice. That's fun. It puts you in control. Where to nap? Okay, like the logistics. Okay, it's so tough in a lot of different situations. And so, you know, for me, it's been at workplaces. Oh, actually in law school too. I got an accommodation of a cubicle in the library basement, which was kind of away from other people. So it was public, but it was somewhat private, I guess. And the cubicle is where I had a blanket and I would just put my head down and nap. I had a lot of hallucinations of people walking by me in that space, but is what it is. But then work has been tough. And so in one job at City of Hope, a cancer research center, we moved from offices to a open floor plan situation. And and our cars were far away. So it was really kind of a hard situation. So we ended up creating 2 wellness rooms. And I kind of like that because I've heard some people say, you know, instead of talking about going to take a nap, they can even say something like, oh, I'm going to meditate or something, you know, or do a little deep breathing, and that can be more easily understood by people who do not have narcolepsy. So I just put the picture here of the wellness room we created at my work. It just had this kind of like, I don't know, leather looking bench and a pillow. And then I would bring a little backpack with me where I had a blanket. And I would mostly, I think, put the blanket over the pillow because I didn't actually want to put my head on the pillow itself. And so, yeah, and there was a lock on the door. That was important to me, so that I could lock that room. Of course, I still had hallucinations that people were coming in, but, you know, that just felt better to me. And Mary, do you want to describe this picture of you from yesterday?
Yesterday, yes. I found a lovely shaded nook yesterday. We went to Disneyland, which was wild because it is Disneyland. It just feels so surreal. But anyways, it's exhausting. It's tiring, I'm sure, for someone who doesn't have narcolepsy, who doesn't have IH. But I knew that I was getting really sleepy, and I was probably considering just like sitting down and putting my head down somewhere, but I found this lovely nook that was shaded. It was like kind of like a triangle situation back in Toontown. And I just curled up, and I don't know how long I was asleep, probably about 15, 20 minutes. My husband was there, and he was watching the kiddos playing on the play structure, but he snapped this picture and then actually didn't tell me that he took this photo until he asked me to look at the pictures of the kids playing. He's like, scroll through these, they're really cute. And I was like, oh, cool. You know, look, oh, that one's funny. Look at this face. And then I stumbled upon this one and I was cracking up laughing. But yeah, you know, when you're doing whatever, napping's important. And for me now, especially, I know when I need to take a nap, I need to take a nap. So I find that location wherever it may be, and I close my eyes and sleep. I've slept in my son, well, not my son's, I guess I haven't slept in his stroller, but when my daughter was a lot younger, like, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, I absolutely sat in her stroller at Disneyland and napped before my diagnosis. I think there's some photos of that floating around somewhere too. But yeah, this was fine. I mean, I slept, no one bothered me, and you know, you got to take that nap wherever.
Yeah.
I mean, anywhere.
Sorry we didn't get some photos of you, Dr. Ortiz, but do you
That's
have
all right. Yeah, there's
not
not that many. Yeah, I take naps in my office. I have a little pillow that I keep in my desk. Those little sharks.
Oh, a nap nook pillow.
I have one of those. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So I keep it in my desk, and I just like it's like on the big drawer typically for files, and I just take it out and I just like sleep on the floor.
Yep.
Little sign
I've done
says,
that.
"Do not enter, do not knock," and I take my nap.
I've done that at work too. If I don't have any students, same thing. I have the same kind of pillow, and I put it on the floor, and I would zonk out. Same thing. So funny.
And I think it's a pretty reasonable accommodation. I don't really want to get into like legal stuff, but I remember my dad saying, he was an employment lawyer, and he always said that, you know, making an accommodation for someone to nap isn't that expensive. So it really shouldn't be too problematic for a workplace to find somewhere. But just something to keep in mind. I know there's probably a lot of different situations. I just have, Lauren, should we check in with you and see if other people had any other comments or not? That's okay.
Yeah, no, well, we've covered a lot of ground since the last time we checked in. So there have been a lot of comments, and I'll just touch briefly on each kind of topic. So a lot of folks were talking about, you know, working on recognizing the signs that they really do need to take a nap, and they shouldn't just try to push through and then, you know, just kind of knowing that they need to not severely push themselves through that moment and just, you know, take the nap. FOMO, nobody said that FOMO was uncool, Julie. So, but FOMO is a real thing for people. And Taylor pointed out that if you skip sleep to not miss out, that, you know, there's a real potential to actually miss out on more, because then you're not fully able to participate. And let's see, as far as like scheduling naps, so a lot of folks were saying they kind of struggle to sleep during scheduled naps, and that it was affirming to hear that even, you know, sleep doctors struggle with that too. And that, you know, it can be tough, you know, with their work schedules and demands. And let's see, Julie was saying that she tries to notice times in her day, like she doesn't currently schedule naps, but she tries to notice times when she is sleepy so that she can try to work more flexibility into her schedule at that time, so she can nap if she needs to, if that makes sense. And then folks were talking about where they sleep. So in their cars, I think it was Rochelle said that she has a hammock that she carries with her, a lightweight, Rochelle has a lightweight camping hammock that she sometimes uses for lunchtime naps.
Just trying to visualize one in my office.
I think that could be cool.
And then some other folks were talking about just kind of the problem or trouble with napping, like anxiety of people watching or checking in on you while you're sleeping, or having hallucinations that somebody is coming in, you know, or tapping on their car window or things like that. So lots of discussion around the logistics and challenges of napping. And before I forget, we had a request for a link to the pandemic study that we were talking about. So let's make sure we do that. I have a note. We'll get that out. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys again for all of your comments. So you're adding so much great extra content that is so important that we'll include in the toolkit. I just, during napping, you know, I just thought we could take a second to talk about it, because I think the experience is also itself, you know, an interesting one. And sometimes when people say things like, you're so lucky you get to nap, or, oh, a nice, I say something like, oh, I just took a nap. Oh, that's so nice. That sounds so wonderful. You know, like I went to the spa, got my nails done. And so how do you feel during a nap? I know for me, it can feel quite busy, is one way. It can feel like I didn't nap at all. Like I think that I'm still awake. And other times the hallucinations. And so I just put these photos here of, you know, which I should probably get. This Flaming June, I think, is so beautiful. It really is, should be an advertisement for sleeping or taking my naps. I wish I did feel like her. I mean, you know, when I nap, but I think sometimes the actual experience might look a little bit more like this artwork on the right here of, you know, your head is quite active. And that's just my understanding too, a little bit of, you know, possibly the drive towards REM sleep in particular, and that our brains might want to go into REM. I don't know, Dr. Ortiz, if that theory checks out, but that experience to me feels quite active sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, vivid dreams are a key feature of narcolepsy. And so you know, often like before I was diagnosed, I would fall asleep in class and I dreamt I was still awake taking notes. You know, so just having vivid dreams can really, you know, that can really just make you feel like you never took a nap at all, because it just feels indistinguishable from waking life.
Mary, how are yours? Do you feel like they're quite active, or?
Yes, everything that you just said about your naps could describe my naps. I often feel like I haven't been sleeping at all. And I'm very confused then when I wake back up. I'm like, oh, I meant to take a nap. And I just feel like I didn't. So they're not always entirely restful. Sometimes I feel like it's taking me forever to fall asleep, when in reality, I probably fell asleep right away. And I just don't feel like I have napped at all. And Dr. Ortiz, that's funny you say that about the being in school, because I had a dream one time that I taught a full day, like went to work, taught a full day. I mean, totally mundane, regular kind of stuff. And then upon waking, I realized that I was now waking up to do the exact same thing. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. This is not, yeah, that was it's a real bummer.
When I was like 10 years old, I think I went through fourth grade about 100 years. Because like it was like every other night I dreamt that I went to school. And
oh man, at least the dreams could be fun, guys.
No, my dreams are super boring. They're pretty much work or school. And yeah, fortunately, yeah, I think vivid dreams have gotten less intense as I gotten older. So it's more like I feel refreshed. And sometimes like if I don't plan to nap, if I'm like, wait, did I fall asleep? I feel better now. Did I fall asleep with my eyes? Like because I was trying to work and all of a sudden like the fog is lifting and it's like, I fell asleep.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Which is a perfect segue to after napping, which I put a quote, I'm sorry to quote myself, but I couldn't find something quickly that gets at this, which is, while napping, I may look like Sleeping Beauty, but waking up, I'm never quite sure who I'll be, a kind, calm beauty or an angry beast. So I think actually it was through having a 3-year relationship where we lived together for 3 years that I learned about this side of me. And I've heard this echo with a lot of parents of kids with narcolepsy, that waking up cannot always be such a clear experience. It can be quite confusing. And sometimes what happened with my boyfriend at the time would be that I would wake up and then I would jump on him about something. I even convinced him once that he was wrong about something. And then later I was like, that was so not a big deal. And I can't believe I tried to get angry with you about that. And so what we ended up doing was setting a rule to, well, kind of, a rule or just a guideline that the first 30 minutes after I woke up, we didn't speak. We just kind of walked around each other in the apartment and did our own thing. It wasn't like we were mad at each other. We just kind of did our own thing until I could feel like, oh, okay, I think I'm myself. So that's how I've kind of handled that. And I don't know if you guys have personally experienced any sort of coming out of your naps, sometimes feeling not quite yourself.
I think for me, when I am waking up, if I don't feel like myself, if I feel angry or sometimes foggier than I was before I even started taking the nap, I legitimately just try to close my eyes and go back to sleep as like a reset if I can. Because sometimes I don't wake up feeling very refreshed, or I don't wake up feeling very much like I've taken a nap. And I can tell that usually because things feel loud. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like everything seems really loud to me if I'm waking up and not quite ready to be up. And I get bothered by the slightest of sounds at all. So I'll like wake up and come out of the bedroom and, maybe my family's watching television or something or talking, and I'm just like shushing everyone and turning things down. And I'm like, okay, maybe I need to try again. And I will legitimately go back into the bedroom, lay back down again and try again, so that I don't have that feeling.
Yeah, sometimes I wake up and I just feel like, oh, geez, I feel bad. And yeah, I just decide to go back to sleep. But oftentimes I wake up feeling great and I just don't care about anything. And I'm like, I don't even get my day started until like maybe an hour later or two. I'm like, but then, there's like part of like, what are you doing? We got to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, okay. And go back to looking at my phone or, wandering on the apartment. And then it's about like by the time like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, it's like something shifts. I'm like, oh, got to get to work, got to get this, got to get that done. And like, my brain shifts gears. It's almost like as if like part of me is still asleep. And even though I feel good, it's just like my motivation is kind of still asleep.
Yeah, I love that. That really resonates with me. And just kind of going with it, maybe, and just like riding the waves. I know for me, just as a person, I think I go in waves of motivation in general, more like weeks and not like exactly times of the day, but just kind of riding that, wherever your head is and letting it be there is really cool.
I think that's important. It's just not to try to fight it too much. It's like guide it, but don't fight it.
Yeah, I like that too, actually, because I know that there's sometimes, even if it's not a nap, just waking up in the morning where I'm already like, oh, I can't, like, I'm looking at the time and thinking, when can I get my first nap in? When can I do this? And sometimes I guess I'm just so like looking forward to sleeping more because I don't feel like I'm ever going to be fully awake that, I don't know. I'm not in a very good mood, I guess, but I'm getting better at that now. I am getting better at it because I know that napping later in the day helps, or I know that I can go back to sleep if I need to. So I'm kind of just trying to roll with it myself.
And you can always vext me. So we're vexting buddies. What vexting is texting. Venting, texting is always very helpful when you have friends with, similar things to complain to.
It is true. It's so true. It is a popular thing we do.
Yeah.
Complete with Bitmojis.
Yeah. Yep. And I know that Dr. Ortiz, I don't know if you have parents that talk about their kids waking up in not good moods at all, or maybe I don't know if you can talk about that.
Well, it depends. Like I definitely have. I have. It's like a spectrum. I have kids that fit the very classical narcolepsy pattern where they wake up great, no problem. As soon as they get to school, an hour or two later, they're asleep. And they may do funny things like around when they're asleep, or sometimes it's like they wake up, they say, okay, I'm getting ready. And then as soon as the parent turns their back on them, the kid's back to sleep, but they're totally fine with the wake. And then I have other people where it's like, I wake up feeling awful, I feel bad. And then maybe it's like not until an hour later where I feel like I'm myself. And then I feel kind of tired, and then I take a nap. And then in the afternoon, I feel the most awake. I feel like I'm my most self, my most real self. during this time of day. And then it just starts all over again once I go to sleep for the night. So it's a spectrum. And I feel that represents not necessarily like a different disease, but like different parts of the wake sleep circuitry being kind of broken or malfunctioning.
Mm-hmm.
I love this little graphic I had to put here. It says, my fitness tracker says I napped for 2 miles. And I really wish I have the Apple Watch I got in November, and I do really enjoy it. And I love that it, you know, is proud of me for standing every hour and proud of me for exercising and getting my steps in. And I try to close my rings, but it would be nice if my watch also, like, you know, was happy that I actually took my naps. If it was proud of me for doing that, I think that would help.
I think that would be pretty cool to be a feature on the Apple Watch. If it was like, hey, it's like it's 2 o'clock, you haven't taken a nap yet, maybe you should take a nap.
Mm-hmm. It tells me to drink water too, you know, so
yeah, it does do that too.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll work on these things.
We'll work on that. Maybe we should do that. Make an app. We should make an app.
Yeah, and a video game. We got a lot to do. Okay. Yeah. So I guess Lauren, I just have this quote, and you can put, if you're, you know, you can say, you know, he, her, them, let them sleep, for when they wake, they will move mountains. And I just love that. And I know it's usually a little baby for a baby's room. This kind of like motto is for decor for a baby's room, but I have it and I love it. And I just think that's kind of a nice reminder to myself. And I just want to see, Lauren, if there's anything else from the audience.
Yeah. So Lauren, who's watching, she loves your Sleeping Beauty quote and says that you should get it embroidered or framed and on your wall. And then it sounds like that quote, you know, just resonated with a lot of folks, you know, sharing that they also feel grumpy when they wake up and groggy and have hypersensitivity to sounds. So it sounds like that's just a very common theme. And other folks loved my tracker said I napped for 2 miles photo or picture as well. So I loved it too. I laughed. You couldn't hear me because I was muted.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right. Well, do you guys have any closing thoughts or, you know, anything you feel like you didn't get to say that you'd like to add to this important discussion?
You know, I feel that a lot of people feel that they can't take naps because of their certain situation. And I really encourage people to kind of, you know, every time you tell your doctor that or your loved one that, when they suggest it, like, take a look, see, is that really true? Is it more that you're trying to reach that goal that you feel that you're going to be missing out on? Or is there a way? And oftentimes I feel like, at least when I'm talking with some of my teenage patients, that they don't, you're going to miss out with hanging out with your friends for an extra half hour, but I think in the end, it's going to make you feel better. And I feel that's the same truth for a lot of people. And I even deal with that problem myself. And I feel that we all just got to be honest with ourselves and just realize that, you know, this is part of the way that we live our best lives. You know, greatness doesn't happen randomly or like unexpectedly. You know, athletes have to train hard and they have to do on a consistent routine and schedule. You know, the same thing, you know, nothing exciting is going to happen because you're not going to miss something exciting because you took a nap. You're going to be having a more interesting and varied life. If you do take a nap, you're going to appreciate it more versus staying up and kind of living in the fog.
Which your quote about greatness makes me think, why aren't we having some sort of a nap Olympics this summer, guys?
I would so be into that. I'm excellent at sleeping. Let's do it. Nap Olympics.
Wow.
Olympics.
I don't even know what that quite means yet, but I just think we got to do something.
I mean, some kind of theme, right? Something to go along with the Olympics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Mary, do you have any last thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to, add that I feel like I spent a lot of my life almost being embarrassed about the fact that I really needed to take a nap. And I definitely used to sleep a lot more than I do now before treatment. but accepting the fact that naps are part of that treatment as well, and not being afraid to let people know that that is what I'm doing has been really helpful for me. Because, you know, when I was younger and before my diagnosis, when I would say something like, I really need to take a nap, I would get a lot of side eye, a lot of people looking at me kind of weird, like, you're too old to take a nap. What are you doing? I came home from college one time and I told my sister it was my nap time. And she was like, what is wrong with you? Like, no, I'm just tired. I need to take a nap. So I've really been trying to own that lately as an adult, and letting other people know that it's okay too. You know, so diagnosed, undiagnosed, if you need a nap, take a nap. You know, and it's okay to tell people that that's what you're doing. So I've been trying to tell people that now, because I think there's a lot of stigma about it. But as you can see from everything that we've just discussed, it's really important, and it's a valid treatment, and something that I think we need to more regularly discuss.
Wise, well said words, my dear. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today. This has been awesome. Thank you to our special guests for joining us. I'm just always inspired to hear other people, you know, sharing about this topic, and hoping that we can always do better, but also not be too hard on ourselves if we're not perfect. And so just reminders, please sign up for the e-updates for Narcolepsy Nerd Alert. And we will be developing a toolkit based on this discussion. So we'll send that out in the next couple of weeks. And of course, save the date, because next month we will be talking about navigating school with narcolepsy, and really excited to dive into that important topic. So come back and join us again next month. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the week and a fantastic 4th of July if you're in the US, a nice long weekend, and we'll hope to see you again soon. So thanks again, everybody. Let's see. Bye for now.